They fined me $5,000 for noise. That's what the HOA called the quiet hum of my garage power system, the same system that keeps my neighbor's oxygen machine running, the same one my late wife begged me to build before she passed. The president, Karen Hernandez, stood on my porch with that smug little smirk and told me I had 7 days to tear it all down or face daily penalties. She had no idea her fine had just lit the fuse for something much bigger, because if she wanted quiet, I was going to give her silence so deep it would swallow her whole. It started on one of those slow Tuesday afternoons where nothing much happens. I was in the garage fixing my grandson's toy truck, the faint hum of my power system in the background, steady, peaceful. Then came the knock. I wiped my hands and opened the door, and there she was. Karen, the self-appointed queen of Oakwood Court, clutching her clipboard like a shield. She smiled, that tight, artificial smile that said she was about to ruin my day. "Tom," she began, "we need to discuss a compliance issue." She didn't wait for an invite, just shoved an envelope into my hand. Inside, a crisp notice, $5,000 for mechanical noise pollution. I stared at it, then back at her. Noise pollution. Karen, that system runs quieter than a fridge. She tilted her head, savoring every word. The board has received complaints about your unauthorized industrial installation. I could feel my jaw tighten. That installation, I said, pointing to my garage, powered 6 homes during last summer's blackout. It kept Steve Morales alive when his oxygen machine would have died. For a split second, I saw her mask slip. Then the smirk returned. "While your generosity is noted," she said coldly, "it does not supersede association bylaws." That was the moment I realized this wasn't about rules. It was about power. Karen didn't want peace, she wanted control. I still believed in reason, though. That night, I sat at my old desk, pulled out the binder of permit schematics and noise readings I'd logged myself. I wrote a formal appeal, included signed letters from the 7 families my system served. I dropped it in the HOA's mailbox the next morning, thinking logic would win. 4 days later, she showed up again. This time, she didn't knock. She marched straight to my garage and nailed a laminated order right into the wooden door hammer blows echoing down the street. Final notice. Remove non-compliant machinery in 7 days, or face $500 daily fines. The neighbors peeked through curtains as she strutted off like a conquering general. The message was clear: I wasn't a neighbor anymore, I was an example. I tried to rally the others, the ones who'd thanked me for keeping their lights on. Mr. Miller cracked his door open just enough to whisper, "Tom, we can't. She fined us for a trash bin last month. We can't afford another war." One by one, they turned me away. Kind eyes, scared voices. Karen had them all cowed. She'd built a tiny empire on petty fear $300 fines for weeds, threats over mailbox, paint lectures about property values. By the time I reached Steve's house, I was out of hope. He sat in his garage tinkering with a mower, his hands shaking from the stroke. "If she makes you tear it out, Tom," he said quietly, "I don't know what we'll do. That power, it's my lifeline." His wife Maria squeezed my arm, eyes full of worry. That's when I stopped thinking about rules and started thinking about promises to Sarah, my wife, who once said, "Build something they can't turn off." That fine wasn't just paper. It was an attempt to erase the last thing she ever asked of me. Still, I played by this book one last time. I went to City Hall, sat across from a weary inspector who flipped through my permits and nodded. "Everything's in order," he said. Then he leaned closer. "Off the record, your HOA president's been calling here non-stop. Technically, she's within her authority. Nuisance complaints fall under their control." He sighed. "I'm sorry, Mr. McMichael. Legally, she can keep this going." It felt like someone kicked the air out of me. The law, real law, meant nothing here. Karen's clipboard kingdom was untouchable. 2 days later, she sent her new enforcer, Greg Foster, a wannabe cop in a cheap blazer. "I'm here to conduct an official sound reading," he barked, flashing a yellow meter like a weapon. I let him in, watched as he accidentally caught the electrical startup spike, a classic fake. Well above acceptable limits, he declared, scribbling on his clipboard. I didn't even argue. He wasn't there to measure, he was there to lie. That night, sitting alone in the quiet hum of my garage, something in me cracked. Rachel, my daughter, begged me to give in. "Dad, please," she said. "She's not going to stop. You'll lose the house." I almost did it. I actually picked up a wrench and thought about dismantling everything. Maybe keeping my family safe meant surrendering. Then the phone rang. Maria's voice was trembling. "Tom, it was Steve." The power flickered. Just for a minute. His oxygen machine cut off. He had a heart attack. My blood turned to ice. 1 minute of darkness, that's all it took. He survived barely. I sat there long after hanging up, staring at the control panel's soft lights. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about pride or property. It was about life and death. Karen's rules could kill someone. That realization burned away every doubt I had left. The next morning, I flipped the master switch shut, everything down. To the world, it looked like surrender. Karen posted a photo on the neighborhood Facebook page. My garage door, the notice still nailed in place. "The unauthorized installation has been deactivated," she wrote. "Peace restored." Her little fan club cheered in the comments. I just smiled. The patient wasn't dead, it was in surgery. Over the next few nights, I rebuilt everything in silence. I rerouted circuits, installed a remote-controlled relay, and created a silent run mode. No hum, no clue, it was alive. I also gave myself new power selective control. I could now decide who got electricity and who didn't. Karen had wanted quiet fine, she'd get it. Wednesday came HOA meeting night. 7:59 p.m. Karen sat at the head of the long table in her red power suit, live streaming her little empire. "I'm pleased to announce," she said into the mic, "that the unsafe installation on Oakwood Court has been fully removed." That was my cue. I pressed the big button on the remote in my pocket. The clubhouse lights blinked once, then died. The whole block went black. No street lights, no porch lamps, nothing but stunned gasps and frantic voices. Then I hit the smaller button. 7 homes, mine Steve's, and 5 others lit up again, glowing like islands in an ocean of darkness. On the live stream, phones flickered to life. Karen's voice rose above the chaos. "Stay calm. It's a grid failure," but then someone, Steve's daughter who was recording, stepped forward. "It's not a grid failure," she said. "Tom's house has power. My father's does too. The system you tried to destroy is the only thing keeping us lit right now." Her words hit like a thunderclap. The crowd turned faces lit by phone flashlights staring at Karen. She stammered, "That's impossible. He dismantled that thing. This is sabotage." But the fear was gone. People were seeing the truth with their own eyes. The meeting disintegrated, residents walking out one by one until Karen stood there fuming in the dark. By morning, the clip was everywhere. HOA president loses it during blackout. Even local news picked it up. The comments weren't kind. Karen doubled down. The next day, she taped a new cease and desist order to my door. Thick cardstock, fake county seal. Signed K. Hernandez, Community Safety Liaison. I peeled it off, slid it into a plastic evidence sleeve, and drove straight to City Hall. This time, I didn't talk to some low-level clerk. I went to the head of the planning department, laid out everything, the fraudulent readings, the recordings, the photos, the fake notice. When I played the video of Greg faking the test, the inspector's jaw tightened. "That's falsification of a municipal document," he muttered, then picked up his phone. 2 hours later, 2 trucks pulled up outside my house, 1 city vehicle, 1 police cruiser. Karen rushed out of her door, arms folded, convinced they were here for me. The inspector walked into my garage, calibrated his professional sound meter, and took a reading 28 decibels. "For the record," he said loudly, "this is quieter than a residential street." Then he turned across the road and handed Karen a summons. Her face went from smug to pale to horrified. She was being charged with document falsification and harassment. The clipboard queen had just been dethroned. The neighborhood erupted. Residents organized an emergency vote to dissolve the HOA entirely. I didn't even attend. That morning, I was at Steve's house building a new wheelchair ramp, something useful, something quiet. When his daughter came running out with the results 37-3, she's out. I just nodded, kept drilling the last screw, but Karen didn't go quietly. A week later, my security camera pinged at 2 a.m. I opened the feed and saw her creeping toward my garage, a can of spray foam in her hand, trying to clog the vents. I hit one button, call police. 2 minutes later, blue lights flashed. They caught her mid-act, can still in hand. She didn't even struggle when they cuffed her. Just stood there, finally silent. A few weeks later, I stood in court explaining my system, the permits, the schematics, the lives it powered. Karen sat at the defendant's table, eyes down, hands trembling. The judge didn't need long. Guilty on multiple counts. The HOA was ordered to refund all fines from the past year, including my own. The clipboard empire collapsed that day, not with applause, but with paperwork and a single gavel strike. And that was it. No speeches, no parties. Just quiet, the real kind. The kind that hums softly through wires, keeping hearts beating and lights glowing. People like Karen think power is about control, about who can write the rules. But they're wrong. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't threaten or fine. Real power is the kind that keeps shining even when everything else goes dark.